Okay, before this video begins, I know more than a few people might have complaints with what I'm about to say. So when I clear this up, this is my opinion based off of what I've seen behind the scenes and in public. And if you haven't seen one of my previous videos about this, I said, and I quote, that if Osana released, I think that LoveSick would fail. If you haven't seen what's happened, since Osana's release, the popularity of LoveSick has nosedived. Because now Yandere Dev has actually released the core thing that people were waiting for, that people wanted to see LoveSick do first. And people just can't be bothered to follow LoveSick because they've already seen the stuff that's been exposed about Dr. AP's. And, you know, he's already failed to make a project like this once before, so why would people have much hope in him? Because even the Yandere Dev has managed to get further than him in development. So what is my point with this video, you may be asking? Well, in general, I just think that LoveSick doesn't stand much of a chance anymore. Yandere Dev has finally managed to man up and code his game, and with that comes a lot of things. It means that people that are making fan games of him just don't have the power to keep up. Yandere Dev has the funding for the game, he has the workers already with him for the game, and he's already progressed and got stuff set up for the future. Dr. AP's has none of that. That's a big issue, you see, because Dr. AP's, just like Yandere Dev, is an untrained coder, just with less backing. And that's what worries me. Because technically, in the same time, Yandere Dev had done more work than Dr. AP's, which is concerning, seeing as Dr. AP's is supposed to be releasing the game in a year. It seems like his word will fall back on false promises. Then comes Dr. AP's attitude to every single person he speaks to. He's always got a shitty attitude, this holier-than-thou attitude that most people disagree with. He's constantly giving Yandere Dev shit for everything, and it just really doesn't come out well in regards to how he looks publicly, especially when he lied to his audience about how long it took him to make the game, his real identity. He even went as far as to hire a voice actor to pretend to be him so that he could play off the fact that it wasn't him, until he got doxxed, which I don't support doxing, but still, you see my point. And overall, it's just become a big issue, because LoveSick just, if Dr. AP's can't manage to release his rival within a few, weeks, maybe months, people are going to stop supporting him. He's just, whether he can actually make the game or not, he's going to fall from popularity. It's pretty clear. Because even if you look at his numbers, they're going down by the day. Less and less people actually care about LoveSick anymore, because they're seeing Yandere Dev actually do stuff, and because they're just done with Yandere games in general. Which could mean that Yandere Simulator would fail as well, but at this point, with the progress Yandere Dev's made, I highly doubt that. However, I obviously still do have some complaints with Yandere Dev. I know he's making a video responding to some criticism, but I also know that he's trying to take down r/Osana, and although I have seen some TOS violations there, I'm not sure if I support taking down a community. I'm not certain on my stance on that, but I do think that he's approaching it possibly the wrong way. But at this point, people keep comparing Dr. AP's and the Game Sleuth, or the ex-Game Sleuth, I guess you'd call him. People keep comparing them and saying, look, they're nothing like Yandere Dev, which means they're good. Why are you mad? They're nothing like Yandere Dev, or Yandere Dev's done worse, which is a defense that Sleuth even tried to use. That defense doesn't work. Whether they're better than Yandere Dev or not, they're still terrible people. Dr. AP's has lied to his audience. He's disregarded any requests that his ex-volunteers have made to have their work removed. He's talked shit about people's art. He's been pretty disrespectful to everybody. He got Cameron's video dislike botted by his moderators. It's become a spiral of him becoming a worse and worse person. Most people make mistakes like this in their life, but when you make all of these mistakes within a few months of starting development, it's pretty worrying. And honestly, I just don't think people can trust Dr. AP's anymore, because at the end of the day, he's just not being honest with them about everything, really. He's lying, he's fabricating information, and he's just generally not being clear with his audience. He was supposed to be crystal clear about everything, but instead he's just not telling people anything going on behind the scenes. He's lying about stuff, and he's just in general treating people like shit. So, what would my advice be for Dr. AP's? Well, I think my advice would be pretty simple, to be fair. My advice would just be to focus on the game, to treat people with respect, and to make an actual proper apology, instead of the apology just for being Knowles is falling, because that was pretty shitty. The apology people wanted you to make was for the fact that you'd lied to them, for the fact that You'd lied to volunteers. You'd forced volunteers to keep their work in game. You mistreated your volunteers. The fact that you kept Zaid on the team despite the allegations made against him without doing in-depth research in regards to these allegations. I don't want to say I hate you, Dr. APs, because I don't. But I do have serious issues with how you're conducting yourself. And I think a lot of people do at this point. And especially as YouTubers, we're seeing you, and you were supposed to be the hero, but all of a sudden, you've become just another villain in the big scope of things. Because you're one of the people that's just as bad as YandereDev. YandereDev made a lot of mistakes in the past, but you're making mistakes in the present that are pretty bad. And I know people might not agree with me on that. People might say, no, he's nothing like YandereDev. But YandereDev's made a lot of mistakes, yes. And I agree, and I don't like YandereDev. But Dr. Apis has also made a lot of mistakes, and he's made these mistakes in a much shorter time than YandereDev made his mistakes. But why does that mean LoveSick is doomed to fail? It's simple. Dr. Apis will give up on it. That's my biggest prediction for the whole thing. He's built up this audience or whatever, but he's seeing the numbers go down, I can tell. He's been involved in so much drama already, and just like when he was involved in drama with his last game project, he quit. Also, LoveSick is going to be too difficult of a game for someone like him, a kid, to develop. That's the honest truth of things. YandereDev can barely do it, and YandereDev's had years more experience, and YandereDev's actually worked for companies. Dr. Apis has no official accreditations for any of it, to be fair. He's just a kid that codes, and it's highly likely that he's not going to be able to outcode YandereDev. And it's even more likely that he'll just give up on the project, because why is he going to keep working on this game when he's not making any money out of it, and he can't finish it because he's doing this all for free? He can't. That's the honest truth. And you can see with his updates getting more and more vague and less detailed, and the fact that he's continuing to release update videos using models designed by ex-volunteers, or based on ex-volunteers' art, which is copyrighted. It's clear that he's just making more and more mistakes every time he releases an update, and these updates are becoming more and more infrequent, and he keeps taking breaks from social media. He's lost control of his Discord, and he's just giving it away at this point, basically. It's become a big issue for him, and sadly, there's nothing he can do about it. Dr. Apis made too toxic of an environment when he claimed to be the game that would take down Yandere Simulator, and when he constantly berated YandereDev and made a bunch of allegations about him. He slowly made it even more of a nightmare than before. He made it more of basically a death trap for him. Because no matter what he does at this point, people are going to treat him as that guy that's supposed to be better than YandereDev. And he's bound to YandereDev. Whether he changes the name of his game or anything, he's always going to be held to that standard of being better than YandereDev. And as my current viewpoint is, he's not better than YandereDev. He's exactly the same. Maybe a bit worse in terms of coding and in attitude. And he doesn't have the funding behind him to be able to fund a game like this. And volunteers are going to run out sooner or later. It's slowly going to become a slide. It's going to become a big slope of him making more and more mistakes and not progressing. And there's nothing he can do about it, because he set himself up to be that standard of better than YandereDev. And people are slowly seeing that he's not, and people are seeing that he can't keep up to that reputation. And for that reason, he's slowly losing even more support from people. And that's my biggest issue. It's the fact that he doesn't address criticism properly. He's set up a reputation for himself that he can't uphold, and he's put too much work on his shoulders for someone that doesn't have the experience to be able to make a game like this. Dr. Apis does not stand a chance against YandereDev, and that's why I think LoveSick is doomed to fail. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Don't forget to join my Discord down below, press subscribe, and potentially leave a like. That would, help me out a lot. Dislike if you disliked it, I don't mind. But thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave critical comments of what you thought of this video down below. And I'll see you next time. Peace, dudes.
Says she wanna rock with a nigga like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with a nigga like me. We can catch a fly. Says she wanna rock with a nigga like me.